Davis, and today I'd like to show you how to start a crochet rug and how to cut the fabric for them before you start. The first thing you need to do is get lots of old clothes or old sheets are great for this. You're not throwing them away, you're recycling them, and you're going to turn them into something beautiful. If you can tear your fabric, it's going to save your hands a lot. You can just make a little slit and tear the fabric if you're going on the right grain. And you want these about 1.25 inches wide and as long as you can get them. That's why I like to use sheets, because they're a nice long piece of fabric. So once you get your strips cut, we're going to knot these together. So you have to, I like to round the edges on mine, makes it less bulky. You just fold that in half with your ends together and fold it up about, I guess, 1.5 inches, and just take your fabric and put it all the way down the bottom of your scissors and make a tiny little slit. That's where we're gonna knot them. So you have a nice little slit here, and you put right sides together on your fabric. Right sides, if you don't sew, means that's the colored side of the fabric, the nice side that you want to show. Put that together, and you're gonna feed this new piece of fabric into the old piece, the first piece. Take the end, get the strings off of here. You have lots of strings when you cut this stuff. Take the end, and you're going to put one end through the other end of your new piece of fabric and just slowly pull it up, and you're going to fold it down like a little flap there, and then fold the edges inside and very gently pull both pieces so you have a nice little flat knot there. And this is how you will continue to add fabric as you're going. So to start this, first you have to cast the fabric strip onto the needle. And all that means is you're tying a knot. So I'm going to show you how to do this, but you can actually just tie a knot on there if you can't remember. You always want to leave about 8 or 10 inches of fabric in the tail, because you're going to weave that into the rug when it's done. And if you don't have enough, you can't get that to hold enough in your rug. So you take this and you put it like the breast cancer ribbon. Let's see, could you see that? And then you reach down and you grab the piece under the bottom strip that's under this one, and you pull that right through your loop on the needle and pull it tight, and there's your knot. Now you're not using this for your first loop, that's just your knot, okay? Now you're going to chain. We're going to make a circle. So to make a little mat, this is a little pumpkin rug. It's just a circle. It's made with 5 chains. Same thing though, if you make a little coaster or a table pad, you're going to, if it's really small like a coaster, you would do 3 chains. But 5 is standard for anything bigger. Okay, this is how you do a single crochet, or first, I'm sorry, the chain stitch. You're gonna hold this in your hand all the time. You hold that taut, and then you pull this right through that loop. You make sure your loops are big enough, because you're gonna have to get your needle through there again when you're crocheting. So we wanna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. Okay, we've got our 5 crochet loops, and now you're going to hold this up and take your hook and put that in the first chain stitch, not the knot, just the first chain stitch that you made. And then you're going to reach behind and grab the material and pull it through. So you're going to have like a little U shape hanging here. And then you take the needle again, and you hold this taut, put the needle underneath, and pull it through both loops. And then you're going to have a little circle, tiny little baby circle. That's your first circle. Now to start this, you're going to look at your circle, and it's hard to tell on camera, but if your needle is kind of leaning to the right, it means you need to increase which means you're going to add another stitch. So you would take the needle and go in the same hole that this stitch was made in and do another single crochet, or do a single crochet, which is just reaching behind and pulling it through the 2 loops, just like we did when we connected the circle. That was a single crochet. And I pulled that a little bit too tight, but I think it'll work out. And don't worry, that knot's gonna be sticking out. Don't worry about that, because we're gonna cover that up when we get to the end of the row. Now you're going to have to continue around here, and you're going to have to make a single crochet again to increase before you can get to the next stitch, because the whole first row will be like that around your circle. Okay. So you should have 2 loops once you go through your underside of your rug, and then you reach around and grab your fabric and go through the 2 loops so that you have your single crochet completed. And you're going to continue doing this all the way around your rug or your circle. And 1 row will go into the next. And you just have to judge by the way the position of where the loop is, whether you're going to need to add another stitch to get to the next stitch, okay? See, this is your needle. This is the stitch way over here. So you know you got to do another single crochet, and you put it right in the same hole, as I said, as your stitch went in. And reach around and pull the back fabric through those 2 loops. And I think we've got about 3 more stitches. You continue this way all the way around, working until you've got a nice circle going. Let me see. Okay, go underneath and pull it through. And you see it's getting to be a nicely formed circle. Okay. And your loops, your crochet loops, the chain stitches have 2 sides. There's a front and a back. You don't go through both. You only go through the front part of the crochet loop, the chain stitch, because it would be too thick and bulky if you go over all of them. Okay. Now, I've talked to you about increasing. That means that you have to do another stitch in order to get to where the next stitch is going to be. When this gets a little larger, if we were to keep going like this and just increasing, it would get wavy, scallopy looking sides, which you don't want on a rug. So when that starts to happen, or when you see a lot of little tiny stitches or loops instead of just a couple, you know that you need to stop increasing and decreasing in order to get it flattened. And if it starts getting scallopy and wavy like that, you really should take that out and go back to where it was before it started doing that. And to decrease, to keep that from happening, you just skip a stitch or 2. You know, you might take a stitch and you'll see there's 3 stitches there because you've increased so many times. And you just skip right over those and go into the next stitch that makes it look like it's going to lie flat and it's not gonna wave up there in those little scallops. It looks kind of like a doily with a lacy edge when it's not being done right. We don't want that. We just want a flat rug. So from this circle, you can make things like a coaster, a pot holder, a hot pad, a rug. You can make the round chair pads, or the ones you put on bar stools, round placemats. And you can also make a really neat drawstring bag by doing the circular bottom and then just working it straight all the way around up to the top. And then you can just chain stitch a piece of fabric for the drawstring and for the handles. and you have a really cute little purse. So that's looking good. That's working out the way it's supposed to. Now, when you get it to the size that you want it, you're going to need to know how to finish it off. And the way to finish it is you would cut your fabric off. I like to finish it where the tail is hanging. I told you we'll take care of that later. That tail hanging down shows you where you started. So you should end your rug where you started it. So when you get to that point, you would want to cut off your fabric, leaving about a 10-inch strip. So this is my little tiny baby rug here. And I'm going to do one more stitch here to bring it, I think, to where it's supposed to be. And then I'll cut it off. I don't know how well, kind of hard to see this tiny little thing down here. All right, so you would cut off, let's see, I'd say about 10 inches here. And then what you do, you want to make this kind of like it's not going to unravel. So you just reach behind and pull this through. So you've got a knot there now. So you've knotted that, but you still need to finish it off because it's just hanging there. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can do slip stitches around the edge for either part of it or all of it. But I like to do it on the back. I like to weave it through on the back instead. So this is a slip stitch where you just stick your hook under, and it's kind of just like wrapping the edge with the fabric. Just reach under, grab the fabric, pull it through, and then you go on to the next one. But my preferred way of doing this is just to take the fabric and run it down the back of the coaster or rug or whatever you've got, and then just weave it through on the bottom all through these stitches. And then when you're done doing that, you can get an upholstery needle and thread and just tack that down so that it's not going to come apart when you wash it, because these are made to be washed. Your center with the little knot here, you're going to weave this into the rug all the way around. And if you've got a little, like this one, I didn't pull it quite tight enough, it's got a little hole in the middle. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't do anything to the rug. But if you don't like that, when you're weaving this fabric around, you can just take it across the back of that, where that hole was, and you won't be able to see it anymore. And to do this right, you need to have a smaller crochet hook than the one you've worked with, because you've got your the stitches pulled very tight, and it's going to be hard to get the same size hook under these stitches. But you just weave it through there, so that will be tucked all the way down through those stitches, and then you'll just tack it down with an upholstery needle and thread, and it should hold up for many washes. And so that, anyway, I know it's hard to see, but that's how you start a crocheted rug and how you can finish it. Thank you for watching.